Hello, everyone. So we're here with another episode of the Superintendent Spotlight, and today we're going to focus on the Hingham High School Green Team. We have some students here I'll introduce in a minute, and a special award that they've received and other kinds of environmental protection efforts. So I want to introduce my guests. So to my left is Rick Swanson. Rick Swanson is an assistant principal at Hingham High School, also baseball coach, a JV baseball coach. Next to Rick is one of our students, Gianluca Nigro, and Gianluca is a senior at Hingham High School. You're counting the actual days at this point. And next to Gianluca is Leah Concannon, and Leah is kind of the heir apparent to this leadership role, and is a junior at Hingham High School. And to my far left is Katie Robertson. Katie is the director of science at Hingham High School and the elementary schools and the middle school, so it's a K-12 role. Katie's been with us before on another segment. So we're going to start with Rick, and of course we have to start with the good news first. And the good news is Hingham High School has just won a very prestigious award, which is given by the United States Department of Education, and one of only 3 schools in Massachusetts and 17 nationally.
Right, 17 high schools nationwide.
Right. So anyway, I'm going to ask Rick to talk about the award and to tell us a bit more about what the criteria are and what the activities were leading up to it. And I think you also brought some recognition that we've already received.
We did, yes. Just yesterday we were invited to the Massachusetts State House to be honored by the State Department of Education and our state rep too for winning this honor, which really was, I would say it's a labor of love for us over the past number of years. U.S. Department of Education started this program 3 years ago, the Green Ribbon Schools Award program, sort of analogous to the Blue Ribbon Schools program that I'm sure many of the viewers would be familiar with, Hingham High School being named a Blue Ribbon School in 2009 in recognition of academic excellence. Well, in 2013, the U.S. Department of Education announced this new initiative called Green Ribbon Schools that was designed to recognize schools who've done an excellent job in achieving, according to 3 pillars that they have set up. The first is reducing environmental impact and costs for your school. The second is promoting health and wellness for students, staff, and faculty at the school. And the third is achieving excellence in environmental education for students. And so we applied for this award in the first year of the program's existence in 2013 and again in 2014. It's a very rigorous application process. I think the entirety of our application approached 30 pages of single-spaced text that involved all sorts of documentation of what we have done to reduce energy use, reduce water consumption, promote sustainable practices throughout the building, and especially what we've done to promote environmental education among our students through all sorts of initiatives, the majority of which have come through a very active student group called our Green Team. And delighted that we have 2 of our leaders from the Green Team here on the program today. Gianluca, who is our first president. Just this past year we elected a slate of officers for the first time, although the group has been around since 2007. And Leah is our next president. She's junior, who'll take over next year. It's through their leadership and I think through the grassroots of student-led programs that have really made a difference for us in winning the award this year.
Great. And do you want to show your...
Sure, yeah. Yesterday we were at the State House to receive this recognition signed by the Secretary of Energy and Environment for the state, the Commissioner of Energy, and also the Commissioner of Education, the Secretary of Education. Nice awards program at the State House to recognize Hingham High School along with Cambridge Public Schools and Blackstone Valley Regional Vocational Technical. They were the 2 other schools besides Hingham High to win the award this year, and we've all been invited down to Washington in about a month to receive the award nationally.
I want to next talk about that trip, and it's an award ceremony, certainly a piece of it, but there are also some other activities. So tell us what you can expect when you go to Washington.
Right, we're
as
gonna,
much as you know.
Yeah,
from
sure.
the
As much as we know, we're very excited about this. We were allotted 4 slots so that we could bring 4 representatives from our school to be part of this program. There are probably 20 or more who would love to bring down, who have been instrumental in helping our school to achieve the award, but we were given 4 slots. So I'll be traveling down along with a faculty member, Ron Woolley, who's a social studies teacher, and Ron was a co-author of the application. Has done a lot of work with our Green Team in a variety of capacities and has been really instrumental in drafting the application, which was a whole lot of work. So Ron and I, along with Gianluca and Leah, will be flying down on June 2nd and staying for 2 days. On June 2nd, we've been invited to tour the Department of Energy. And then on Wednesday, June 3rd, there's a whole series of award ceremonies, including a reception at the end of the night as well, where I know we'll at least meet some staff from our congressional offices as well while we're down there. It should be a very exciting opportunity.
Great. And two of you are going, so tell me what you're thinking will be the most exciting part of the trip.
Yeah, well, I mean, just being in D.C. as a whole, it's a very humbling experience to know that the work that we've put in over the course of the last few years into the Green Team, I know I feel that way, and Leah feels the same way, that we've gotten a real payoff by receiving an award. Obviously, we receive payoff every time we do something with this team and with these people, but having the chance to go to D.C. in the nation's capital and receive an award for what we've worked so hard for is a great experience, and just shows that the work that we've done has paid off in more ways than one.
And Leah, as the next president, you'll probably be looking for some other ideas of other kinds of things, and so likely you'll meet these other teams. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I think it's always good whenever we do events with like other schools and we get to meet other green teams. It's always good to share ideas, because our ideas, we've had some really successful programs that have worked really well at our school, and then it's good to share it with other schools and they give us their feedback on what works well there. And like I feel the networking that we have between other green teams is really important, and just to like get new ideas and how to get people excited about it every single year. So it's going to be good to see how the other teams are up to.
It's a big commitment too in any student activity to be doing something that has activity every single day of school, like what you do in the cafeteria at lunch, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So Rick, you mentioned that the Green Team started in 2007 or so. So tell me what a typical attendance at a meeting would be, and what are the kinds of things you talk about or plan for at meetings, and where do the creative ideas come from for these activities that have great catchy titles?
Sure. I think one of the secrets to success for the Green Team, not really a secret, but one of the ingredients to this group being very successful is a terrific cross-section of people who represent different constituencies within the high school. A number of really active faculty members who've been part of it. Several
across all departments.
Across all departments, science certainly, but not only there. History, English, math teachers, as well art teachers, special education teachers who have regularly attended our meetings and contributed to programs that we've done. We have a custodian at the high school who's been very active with our group. Several parents as well, who have come to us through PTO and other avenues as well. So really important sort of adult voices there, but without question, the really important leadership comes from our students. The bulk of our membership are students from grades 9 through 12, and it's their creative thinking and insight and energy and willingness to roll up their sleeves and work hard on a whole wide variety of really original projects too, that on occasion are inspired by efforts at other schools or things we've heard about, but very often are just original ideas that come from our own students. Group started in 2007 with a similar type of membership. One of the founding members of that group was Michael Page, who's a very familiar face to many now as a meteorologist on NECN. Right. When he was a junior, he was in on the ground floor when we started the group, and so over the course of the last 7 years, there have been many others who have followed in his footsteps, and Gianluca, Leah, and many others are just the latest incarnation of a whole long line of kids who've made an important difference. And the fact that we're here now is a reflection not just on what these guys have done for the last year, but what everyone has done over the course of many years.
Giants quote.
That's right. Yeah.
Comes there. Thank you. So Katie, most of the activities that we're going to be talking about today are in the category of recycle or reuse or the 3 R's, if you will. Reduce, obviously the big one too. But clearly at the heart of it all is instilling the love of our planet and protecting the environment. So in terms of the course offerings that we have at the high school, and a number of them, of course, would be mainly in your department, what are some of the courses that are available to youngsters who have this kind of interest, or courses that we offer to everyone and that may have a component that is about protecting our environment?
I think that last point is very important, that it is important for all of our students as future citizens to have a solid grounding in the scientific concept. So, for example, our intro bio course, every student is receiving a strong grounding in ecology, so studying habitats and food webs and local environments. And we do, when possible, try to use local case studies to really illustrate those points. And I think one of the things that makes that program particularly strong are the past lives of our science teachers. Many of our science teachers are coming to us from research backgrounds in academia. They've been working in the field both locally and globally. So they can really provide some rich real-world experience that enlivens that curriculum and makes it real and relevant. So again, that global grounding that all of our students receive is very important. But we do have an enormous number of students that want to go further with that content. And so during junior and senior year, we have 2 elective offerings that really help engage those students wanting to go further. Our environmental science course, we have about 100 students each year that elects to take environmental science. And they can really go deeper into that content. And again, exploring case studies at a much deeper level. So considering not only the biology and the chemistry, but also taking a look at some of the policies that are at play in these ecological and environmental issues. Another similar course that we have for students that are more interested in the marine environment is our Oceanography course. And again, each year we have about 100 of our students electing to take that Oceanography course. And very similar to the environmental science course in that it's focusing on case studies, but obviously in the marine environment, which is very relevant to our location here in Hingham. And then to complement the formal courses that we offer, we also offer a number of clubs that are in addition to the Green Team. We have a biology club and an oceanography club, and they're often heading out into the field, whether it's to Hingham Harbor or other local habitats, and studying different species and so on, and also engaging speakers. So we just recently had one of our high school alumni back to speak on his career as a marine biologist. The students take trips to the aquarium and so on, so they're able to explore the STEM careers that are available to them down the road.
Great, thanks. So I understand you have a website, Gianluca, and can you tell us a little bit about what's on it, and kind of who's the target of the website? Who is it that you hope will visit? Is students or a broader group of folks?
Sure, yeah. So when you go on our Hingham High School website under the Clubs and Activities tab, you'll see an option for the Green Team. And basically what we have on that website is all our notes from our meetings. We have a secretary who takes notes every meeting, and we have upcoming events, upcoming meetings, opportunities to partake in activities. We have areas where people can contribute their thoughts and comments. And essentially our target for that is not just within the school, but also all of Hingham in particular. We'd really appreciate if everyone got a chance to look at that website, because we do put a lot of time into that website, and we have a lot of links on that website, partner websites, and we have links to other schools' websites on there as well for their green teams. And it's just a really great website to be able to garner all the information of what we do in the school. For people who can't make it to the meetings, it's a great alternative to see what we've been working on and what they can help out with.
Great. Well, we'll publicize it then and share it more widely. Leah, have you been on the Green Team since you were in the 9th grade? And how do you, what drew you to this particular activity? Because there's a long list of activities that we offer and extracurricular programs at Hingham High School. So what was it that drew you to this activity?
Yeah, well, I've been involved in the Hingham High School Green Team since my freshman year, but like throughout my whole life, I was involved in the Green Team, or I was getting it started at the middle school. And I guess where it all came from, it comes from a lot from my parents. My parents are both environmentally aware, and they've always taught us to conserve, and we compost at our house. But I remember like in 5th grade, I did a project on like the issue of global warming, and it was just solutions on ways to solve it. And it just all the solutions seemed so easy and so easy to do, and I was just so shocked at why people weren't doing it. So I guess I made it my mission to make sure that like everyone was trying at least one thing to do make a difference.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back to have some more conversation on the topic. Hello, welcome back, everyone. We're having a conversation today about protecting the environment, and in particular about the Green Team at Hingham High School and the award that they have just won. So, Rick, there are a number of catchy titles that you use for the activities. I remember in particular Slash the Trash, and then last year there was this initiative Scan If You Can. And so, but perhaps the daily recycling routine in the cafeteria at the high school is the most impressive to me, because I've been there at lunchtime to witness how cooperative the students are, and how willing they are to participate with very little guidance, but often the guidance coming from their peers. So,
Right.
so tell me more about
Right.
the recycling at lunch.
I think we have come a long way over the course of the last 5 years or so in terms of promoting compliance with recycling and composting programs. Part of it is, maybe the catchy titles that you mentioned. We like things that rhyme or have alliteration.
Yeah.
We also like programs that are fun too, that can bring some element of competition or fun into the projects that we're trying to run to get people on board with recycling and composting. And the cafeteria in particular, I think, has been a real success area for us. We set up stations in all four corners of the cafeteria so that at lunch every day, when students are preparing to leave, when they're done eating, they have obviously a place to put their trash, but there's also a place for them to put compost that we compost on site, actually out behind the cafeteria. We now have 12 large bins, all of which were donated to us by the Mass Department of Environmental Protection. But we send upwards of 100 pounds of compost out back every day. I would say on average anywhere between 50 to 100 pounds of compostable food that goes out back every day, which otherwise, a number of years ago would have just been going into the trash, is now being regenerated into rich soil that we're using mostly in an on-site garden in one of our courtyards. But in addition to the compost area, there's a place for students to stack their trays, which are now also compostable. 2 years ago, we were able, with the help of our kitchen staff and our food services director, get rid of the styrofoam trays that had been...
In many years we were trying to
Yes.
get that accomplished.
Right.
So congratulations on
Thank you.
that.
We're so delighted with that change. And truthfully, almost every other school out there is still using styrofoam trays every day at an enormous cost to the environment.
Yeah.
And so now all of our trays are being composted every day, hundreds and hundreds of trays every day that are no longer being thrown away but now being composted. We have commingled recycling of bottles and cans that's also going out back to a single stream recycling dumpster.
That's new this year, the single
right,
stream.
yeah, I think that's worth emphasis as well. We discovered through our monitoring of trash, and our Green Team was working on that over the course of the last couple of years, to demonstrate that we could remove a trash dumpster and also, by the same token, eliminate paying for the pickup of a trash dumpster 3 times a week, and which has now been replaced with a single stream recycling dumpster. That's a pretty legitimate major change that saves the district money.
And we're hoping to do that at all the buildings. We are doing it at one of the elementary schools, so
Right. Yeah.
progress is being
So
made.
great to see
So who
that.
takes care of the composting? When I hear 50 and 90 pounds a day, and I've certainly seen all of the bins out back, but there's work to that. So who
Right.
does the work of?
Well, we've been fortunate to have supportive custodial staff, but it's also been really important to us to not add additional work for those guys. They work very hard already, and our hope has been that the work that we're generating through removal of recyclables or compostables can be done as much as possible by students. So we have student volunteers every single day who come into the cafeteria right after lunch. There are always students who have a study hall right after lunch who could afford to take 10 minutes out of their study hall, come down, and they bring the compost out back, they rinse out the buckets, they take the compostable trays out, and also bring the recyclable paper out back. We were also recycling the brown paper bags that students bring lunches in as well, hundreds of those per day. They're also being brought out, and that work, which is a fair amount of labor, is being done every single day by student volunteers.
Good.
Right?
And speaking of composting, it's a good time to bring up another new thing at our high school this year, after long years of work, and that is the greenhouse. So we have a new greenhouse. So Katie, tell us a bit more about the greenhouse, maybe a brief, how it got started and finally was able to be built last year. And then what are some of the offshoots of it? So we have a small orchard there. We have raised beds that are there now, and we're going to have a beehive, maybe not in that area, but observable beehive. So talk to us about the greenhouse and what is added to the program.
Well, as you mentioned, it was an interesting journey to get to this point. So the initial impetus for building the greenhouse was actually a really passionate group of Green Team students many years ago under the supervision of several teachers, including Dana Crosby McNamee. That initial group of students wrote a grant through National Geographic Sunchips, and that grant was successfully won, and the students and the teachers earned a $25,000 grant to provide seed money to get us started. But that really was just
Only
the very
seed money.
beginning of the journey. And so several years of fundraising and several years of planning later, we now have this beautiful greenhouse. And in the process, Rick Swanson and I learned more about plumbing and utilities and foundations than we ever thought possible. But again, the hard work was really worth it now that we're truly seeing the fruits of our labor. So this was our first year of growing in the greenhouse, and the space has roughly half devoted to hydroponics, which is a soilless method of growing plants. They're growing in a nutrient-rich medium that runs down long channels. And it's really impressive to see, and also provides us, from a science standpoint, the ability to manipulate variables. So it's a great teaching tool and learning tool. And it also is the advantage of something that we can do year-round. So being on the school year calendar, that isn't perfect for a gardening program, but it does allow us year-round growth of plants. The other half of the greenhouse is devoted to soil-based traditional gardening that complements what we're doing with the Green Team and the composting program. So we now have 10 raised beds in the area adjoining the greenhouse, where we're growing everything from salad greens to perennial flowers to herbs, and so a growing program. And this year, again, we have been able to enjoy the fruits of our labor through a greenhouse meal served in the cafeteria. We've had a number of staff lunches. We've also generated a surplus of certain produce that we've been able to donate to the Hingham Food Pantry. So one of the special things about this program, again, there are certainly science applications, but it is really a community resource. And some of the interesting offshoots that you have mentioned were from somewhat unusual people coming forward and saying, I have this special interest or skill. So Matt Conway, one of our custodians that Rick mentioned, was a trained arborist. And so he's provided some really great expertise in that area, and is behind our orchard, our 4 apple trees, and we had some blueberry bushes out there as well. We have a wonderful hall monitor, Katerina, who's an amazing gardener, who's been sharing seeds and, most importantly, providing some recipes. When you have a large abundance of Swiss chard or kale and aren't a cook, I am not a cook, she's been able to provide some great recipes for what we can do with the produce. And again, amongst our staff, we have a new teacher, Jacqueline Beaupre, who is a bee expert. And again, the bees are great pollinators for our garden. She's working on developing an observational hive for students. And then within our own student body, Leah Kincannon here is an amazing gardener. I've actually asked her for advice. She's been gardening alongside with her mom for years, and has had some great gardening tips to share. So again, the community piece of it has been just really special, and something that will only continue to grow.
I know we have a number of competitive activities, and you kind of mentioned the competition, and that's perhaps a very good motivator for kids, but things like Slash the Trash, and then I remember going to the high school. There's a collection of used, gently used, I think is the phrase we use, sports equipment, and the shoes, athletic shoes. So talk to us about some of those activities that are competitive in nature.
Sure. Some of them have been kind of intra-school, and some have been competitions against
Within
other
the school.
schools, right? So the Slash the Trash competition is a seasonal favorite. We run that in the fall, again in the winter, and again in the spring amongst our own varsity sports teams. And so each of the teams is assigned a day when they're responsible for monitoring the recycling and compost stations in the cafeteria. And we measure their success rate by determining how many things found their way into the trash that shouldn't have been there. And the results have been pretty astounding.
So kids really digging through the trash to
Right,
sort and
right.
measure.
Number one, reminding their peers, hey, don't throw that banana peel in the trash, put it in the compost bucket. Or if that fails, sometimes reaching in and pulling stuff out that they know shouldn't be there through their determination to win for glory and pride, or a free lunch from Crow Point Pizzeria, which, we've been really fortunate to have a number of community partners, businesses,
That are motivated and
really
rewarded
helped,
kids.
right, from Nona's Ice Cream to Atlantic Bagel to Crow Point to Peel Pizza to Starbucks, a whole bunch of others who've donated all kinds of prizes to help keep kids motivated and
And I
keep it
know
fun.
in each of the last couple of years we've had a teach-in kind of day, and so perhaps you two could tell us some of the kinds of activities that teachers in other departments have had lessons for that teach-in.
Sure, yeah. So I think it's America Recycles Day, and during Green Week we have teach-in days where we'll either run assemblies throughout the day in the auditorium, and teachers can sign up to send their classes there. During those days, we also encourage teachers to partake in activities that we're doing. That's more so during our Green Week. But the teach-in days we find them to be really important because it shows that there's about a 100% participation amongst our staff and teachers within the school to do something environmental on these days, which we encourage them to do environmental things on. And that just shows us the effect that we've had on the school. And the students tend to always like the assemblies, whether they're watching a movie or being given a presentation by Ace or Michael Page. And students come away with a lot, and it's nice for us. We come away with a lot as well as we understand that the teachers are partaking in these events.
Leah, can you think of a couple particular lessons that surprised you in terms of where the idea for the lesson came from, or the individual presenting it?
Yeah, I feel like what's so great about this issue of environmentalism is that it can be applied to so many different topics. Like in my Spanish class, we had a guest speaker come in, and he came to talk about his experiences in Spanish-speaking countries building gardens and raised beds and developing organic food. And it's just so cool to think that you're going to a Spanish class, but then it can be connected to environmentalism and issues about global warming and soil erosion. And it's very fascinating to see how many different topics it can be applied to. And it's just great because it can just reach that many more
And you get
students.
such cooperation from teachers as
Yes.
well as kids who
Yeah.
are attentive to these lessons and really enjoying them, and of course learning a lot. So we're going to kind of wind down here, but I want to continue the discussion with the students. And tell me about, so you're going off to college next year to
Yeah. I'm attending George Washington
George
University.
Washington. And what's your major going to be?
I'm going to major in political science and minor in international politics.
Okay. And so do you see this environmental activity that you've been doing being part of activities in your life, or just a good foundation to be a responsible citizen?
Yeah,
How do you
absolutely.
see continuing your interest in this?
Yeah, so there's definitely, we see on TV, on the mainstream media, senators from Oklahoma coming into climate debates, bringing snowballs in and saying that because there's a snowball, there's no global warming. And so by having years of experience within this green team, I've not only learned a lot, but I've also learned how to anticipate people who counter your ideas, because there are a few people that you'll come across that'll counter your ideas. And it just gives you a great experience. And for me, where I'm interested in politics, moving forward, if I were to ever run for an office or hold any sort of position, it's great to have a background in in the environment and really understand that we are facing a tough challenge with global warming. And I think having this experience across high school has suited me well for college and later on in life.
Right. And Leah, you have another year before college and a lot of work to do at Hingham High School still. However, given what you told us about your early interests in elementary school, it's hard for me to believe that you're not thinking about some sort of a career that has this in the focus. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of decided on what I want to do, but I do know that whatever I decide to do, environmentalism is going to be a part of it. Like whether it's in any sort of field, it's just like a part of who I am, and it's like my passion. So when I decide on what I want to do, it will definitely have something to do with this. And being a part of the Green Team, it's been great because you've been put in positions, leadership positions that like have been helped to develop skills that hopefully when you go to college and off, you can put them to use. So it's been great.
I also want to note two things. One is that we're going to have a similar episode with respect to what's happening in the elementary schools and the middle school. And the other thing to say is Hingham also has a very active global program and actually a certificate that students can earn through study and coursework and so on. And they can get a certificate for graduation. And of course, this whole environmental thing is such an important part of that initiative as well. So it links them together. So we've just about run out of time, unless any of you has something that we absolutely need to tell our audience that we haven't talked about yet.
It's been a great pleasure to work with these guys on what is,
I'm sure.
without question, one of the defining issues of the world today, of our time. And it should give all of us some real hope to see that those who will follow in our footsteps, students like Gianluca, Leah, and others at our Green Team, ought to give us some optimism for what otherwise
Well, it
might be
certainly
a
does
bleak
to me,
topic.
so.
Good.
So great job, folks, and thank you all for coming today.
you.
Thank you.